Hello, everyone. I'm Michael Williams with my dear friend
Brian Crowley.
Top of Mind, Florida. And as we get the show on the road here and move along with the distance, we've got one of South Florida's funniest guys and nicest people, Paul Castronovo. Drum roll, please.
That's a lot of pressure.
Big 105.9.
That's a lot of pressure.
What, for 4 decades now, has been a stalwart on the radio and now podcast and now social media airwaves. And Paul, first, thanks for being with us.
It's my pleasure. You ran out of guests. I'll just say that. They ran out of guests.
Can we get Paul?
Week 3, they run out of guests.
No. A, you were a Gator, so that got you in
Thank
with
you,
your fellow Gator. B, we shamelessly said maybe Paul will promote us.
No question. No question. No problem.
And I do want to say, I told my wife this morning, I said I should wear a sports jacket. And she said no. So the guy who's brilliant and has done radio for 40 years comes dressed to the nines in his sports jacket. We look like schlubs who came in.
I'm walking out the door, and my wife says, "That's what you're going to wear?" The famous word. I hear this everywhere I go. Every night we go out, and wherever I'm going, even to work, she'll be like, "That's what you're going to wear?" And then we trudge back. So I always leave 10 minutes early. I trudge back into the bedroom. She's like, "You'll wear this sport coat, put the pocket hanky in. You know, Michael Williams, he's going to be dressed up. And you're dressed like a schlub. I like it."
Well, I have a confession. I was wearing another shirt. It was vetoed.
Okay, so
we young people that aren't married, this is what it's like.
Yeah. Okay, and Lisa, well, and
I would have thought you might have had the shirt pressed.
Yeah, right. Oh, it's podcast. They told me to go casual.
That's right.
Okay, I'm wearing a jacket from now on.
By the way, Austin Burke, after 100 years in business, they closed. And I bought this the last week there.
Okay, show off. Paul, thanks for being with us. You know, one of the fun things, I started in radio in 1980, all kidding aside, at the University of Florida. My first day on the job, I ran the tape wrong through the playback machine. So it did, RUF. Got yelled at because the tape wasn't actually playing, but I learned. South Florida radio, how many years now, Paul?
Year 41.
Ouch.
But I started at Rock 104 or RUF in Gainesville in 81. So I go, right, I don't even want to do the math.
No, none of us do. Tell us a little bit of your origin story. I know you, I think there's photos of you with the microphone in the crib, but seriously, the story.
Do you know that my father bought a reel-to-reel tape player when I was a baby, and I had a microphone when I was in the crib, and there's pictures of me, and I used to listen to Met games, or watch Met games on the TV and record my voice doing. So I thought my friends from grade school thought I was going to be a play-by-play guy. I get to University of Florida, and I'm thinking about becoming a lawyer. Then I stumbled into the TV station, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to be a TV star. I go to UFT, and the guy goes, all right, want to be a reporter? Here's the crew. Go out and get a story.
Right.
And I come back in, and the camera's on me the entire time. And the guy's like, why? No, why is the camera on you? So I'd go back out, and I'd go do something goofy, and I'd come back. He's like, you're not getting it. This is serious. I go, I can't be serious. And but I was doing some funny stuff. Yeah. He takes me, he goes, come with me. He takes me in the elevator to the 3rd floor to the rock station at Rock 104, WRUF. And he goes, I got one for you. And that began my radio career. But I wanted to be on Saturday Night Live. I just didn't know how to do it. So they're all like, you just got to go to college and figure it out. I'm like, no, but I need to be on the show because I do voices and I do characters. And so radio was the answer since I couldn't figure out how to get on SNL. In hindsight, I should have been a stand-up and worked my way through, but I'm glad I became a Gator, and I've had a wonderful career.
And a South Florida guy who became a Gator.
I went through Palm Beach Junior College, though, which is now Palm Beach Community College. So
what is it with everybody?
I went to Palm Beach Junior College, but
it's the only way to get into Gainesville.
I
couldn't get there now.
I went to University of South Florida, which oddly enough is in Tampa.
Yeah,
not
that's so
South
weird.
Florida.
I never can get past that.
And then your radio route. So then SNL didn't work out. And what year's UF for you?
I was there 81 through 84.
Okay, so I literally got out the year before you got there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
but I graduated high school in 78, so the math is weird.
I kind of trailblazed. They didn't want me at SNL. Fortunately, little station took me in TV. They felt sorry for me in TV news and radio. We don't need to go.
Well, when I think about
I did fall asleep one night before the radio broadcast was done. That didn't go over very
Really?
Well. I would work from 5 a.m. till like 10 p.m. and the guy from the AM side would run over because he'd hear the radio scratching because I was sound asleep.
Well, having records was I still to this day have a nightmare that the record's ending and I can't find the next one. I haven't played a record in 30 years.
Right. I know. I'm aging myself. Take us through your journey to Big 105.9. Of course, young Ron, big part of your career, but take us through the arc.
84, I graduate, and I'm like, oh, I gotta get on the radio in South Florida, and I sent tapes to everybody, and I was getting no responses. I ended up getting an interview in West Palm at a station, Wings 92 FM, which in the 70s they were here. And the guy sat down and he goes, just getting out of college. This is the big time, kid. I swear to God, he takes my cassette and he throws it in a box. And he goes, come back when you got some experience. So I ended up really bummed out. Yeah. And I tried to I said, well, let me go to Miami. And there was a station, K102. And I said, I can get on this radio station because they're not that good. And I think I'm pretty good. I had a good tape. And no one would listen to me. No one would take my calls. And I stalked the guy. And it was like a Seinfeld episode. So my dad said, go to the parking lot. The guy's got to go to lunch. Right. And when he comes to lunch, just make him listen to your tape. And I showed up in a suit, in a coat and tie. And I go, hi, I'm Mr. Mursky. He's still a dear friend of mine, Neil Mursky. I said, this is my tape. I've been trying to get a hold of you. He goes, but you're relentless. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, and about to be under arrest.
By the time I got back to my parents' house in Lake Worth, there was a message on the answering machine. He goes, I'm so sorry I didn't listen sooner. I have a job for you.
Wow.
And that was it. Yep. And they fired me within a year because they made me the morning news guy. You can appreciate this. The last thing I want to do is news. But they said, can you do news? I said, of course. You take the job, you know.
I'll be GM too.
And I was doing news, and I would like have Sylvester Stallone call into the news. It was like me doing voices. And they're like, that's not what we want. But and he said, I got you a job. And so I don't want you to feel like I'm firing you, but I have to let you go. You leave for Madagascar tomorrow. I'm like, what do you? And he goes, I got you a job as a DJ on a cruise ship. I'm like, nah. I'm not a cruise ship DJ. I'm a radio personality. I got my car that day and drove to WSHE, the legendary South Florida station, and that began the career. Yeah,
brilliant career.
So I read recently.
That this is how the career ends. I understand. That the Me Too is going to get me. I know it. No.
That part of what changed radio, the start of it, that changed radio and kind of changed us socially too in the 80s was the Walkman.
Oh, wow.
So we put on our headphones, you put your cassette in there, and now you're listening to your cassette and you're not really looking at the people around you. And it sort of led us to where we are now.
I never thought about that, but I will tell you that people say to me a lot, wow, radio. You listen to radio still? Satellite. Satellite didn't hurt radio. But you know what did? The cell phone. And I saw the statistic. I was like, oh, yeah. Before the cell phone in your car, right, the only thing in the car with you is either the person next to you or me, right, the guy on the radio. The cell phone came and people would just talk on the phone for 25, 30 minutes. So I'm like, I need these people to put their phones down. I want them illegal in cars. And I also pray for traffic jams. The longer they're in their car, the better idea. But that's interesting. I never thought about the Walkman story.
But well, even when you're talking about the radio in the car, at one point you're able to put the cassette in the car too. So
cassettes, CDs,
you know. So,
but talk to Paul, and we all talk about that. A great newspaper man here, 44 years in TV news for me, and so I still can come into the same building, but they just said, just stay off the news.
Three men in three dying industries. Congratulations! Here we are, looking for work, doing a podcast.
Who don't wear any clothes that their wives approve of when they head out the door, except for Paul, who's showing off today. But the evolution for us, we've talked about. But for radio, I mean, you do radio now. You have podcasts.
Yeah.
Social media. I mean, you've had to evolve. You can't stand still in this business. How have you had to really say, man, I got to keep up with the times and do a lot of different things to make sure I'm getting the voice out, getting my show out?
I surround myself with young people.
Yeah. Good.
I'm not kidding around.
I agree.
Yeah.
But and they do help with that. At first I fought it for a while. I'm like, I just want to do radio. I just want to be the funny guy on the radio. And my old partner, rest in peace, Ron Brewer, he did not want to do social media. He just wanted to be who he was. And it didn't work out for him because he was like, I can't do it anymore. So I figured out, I'm a pretty good editor and I do funny stuff on Instagram. So I can do it. It's just overwhelming because it's not just Instagram. It's Facebook, it's Twitter or X or whatever. And it's TikTok now. And I'm like, do I have time for this? I also have to produce a show every day. Which one should we focus on? I had meetings over the last year with a guy. I said, you realize you've not brought up my show once? All we talk about is social media. What are you doing? Let's refocus and get on radio.
How do you, 40 years, Funny, to me, you can work on the timing and the comedic aspects, but you're either funny or you're not. As long as I've known you, you're funny as all get up. But how do you stay funny, keep that going, keep the energy, and with changing times, what was funny 40 years ago, or how Paul changes and your outlook on what was funny? Walk us through that.
I think it's.
I don't know you when you weren't funny.
I think you have.
But I know it's work too.
I grew up in an Italian American household, watching my father and all his cousins, and I used to be the little kid in the corner watching them crack up. And I always wanted to be that. I wanted to be in that room. I wanted to be with them laughing. I didn't know what they were talking about. Yeah. Bunch of guys in their white undershirts. So, hey, Shinzo, get it over here. So I guess I had that in me. And I always found, I remember the first comedy thing that my father always had comedy albums. Yeah. But they were watching Laugh In. And they let me watch it. And I remember thinking, this is good stuff. And then when Saturday Night Live came into my world, I'm like, oh, this is what I was meant to do. But I was always a sarcastic, funny guy, making fun of everybody, making my mom and dad laugh. So I guess it was just, so you have to keep up with it. No, you have to be inherently funny, and it doesn't matter what the subject is. Yeah. I always find humor in everything.
And but you still have to sit down and figure out with your team.
No, I don't write down comedy. I think.
Yeah, but for each show, I mean, you must have things that you talk about that were funny that you want to bring up. You don't write it.
I wrote notes I write notes to myself, 1-word notes, and I print it out. And I send it. We send notes to each other on the show, but they don't know what I'm talking. But that will trigger me. Here's a perfect place for that joke.
Oh my God! Yeah. How do you keep that energy going for?
And here's the hardest part. If I have a bunch of good jokes for the show, it's a 4-hour show. It takes everything I can. I have to all my strength to keep them from not coming out at 6:01 when I crack the microphone at 6 because we have a whole new audience every 30 minutes. Yeah. So I have to be save this for the 8 o'clock hour. This is good at work here. This joke stinks. Let's do it at 6:05 when we have no audience.
Yeah. We've been hustling for years to keep audiences in TV. You got to do the same thing, buddy.
Oh yeah.
Talk about that.
It's funny because some of our listeners will be like, hey, I heard you do that in the 6 o'clock hour. Why are you doing it again in the 8 o'clock hour? And I'm like, because it's a completely different audience. I mean, if you're listening, there's 2 people that listen for 4 hours. Not many people can do that. Yeah. So if I'm doing something at 7 a.m. that's gold and it's really hilarious, well, I'm doing myself and the audience a disservice by not replaying it in the 9 o'clock hour. Yeah. Because, I mean, it's like a song. You hear a song once, you never want to hear it again. Comedians, some comics do the same jokes for 30 years, so I can repeat something. I don't feel too guilty about it.
So, who's your favorite comedian?
I don't know if I have a favorite because it evolves.
Oh, come on, one.
But Sebastian Maniscalco to me right now is just destroys me, and I'm friendly with him for many years, and I knew him before he became Sebastian Maniscalco. And he was doing the comedy clubs, and all of a sudden, and I remember him. He'd come on my show, and I go, he's very quiet, but. Man, his act was unbelievable. And now he did 6 nights at Madison Square Garden or something. So, it goes back to the Italian thing. I love Sebastian. I love Bill Burr. But all-time Eddie Murphy.
Love Eddie.
Eddie Murphy.
Yeah,
I mean,
Now, the Italian thing. You need to solve a problem that Michael and I have.
Okay. Not being Italian.
Okay.
I've got an Italian wife.
Okay. Oh, yeah, you win.
I'm a cheese and pepperoni pizza guy.
That's fair.
This guy, olives and all kinds of
stuff. As long as you don't use the word pineapple, I'll be okay.
I
win. No pineapple, please.
That's not a pizza. That is not a pizza.
And neither is chicken on a pizza with barbecue sauce. Stop it. It's a sandwich.
You can leave the broccoli off too. But,
broccoli rabe I might allow. And even a friggin' prosciutto, because I know in Naples they do that, in Napolitan.
Tell some of the funny stories. I mean, your voice is so well known South Florida, around the world now, because you can do Instagram.
We had a guy call in from.
What are some of the stories you get?
We had a guy call in from. Leaving a message. We have a new feature. You can leave a message on the iHeart app, and he's like, we said something. He's like, I'm in France right now, or Italy, and you're wrong, Paul. Everything you say is wrong. You know what? I don't like this feature. Let's disengage.
Right.
You're asking for funny stories?
No, that's
one of my favorite stories ever. Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Calls the show with James Cameron. They were promoting the movie Vanilla Sky.
Okay.
And they were drunk. And they were tipsy. I'll use the word tipsy. And they were calling from Australia. So I don't know what time of day it was. It was probably nighttime in Australia. And that makes sense because I did the Olympics broadcast, and we would go on the air like at 7 or 8 o'clock at night to be at 6 o'clock in the morning in South Florida, and I said something to him like, who were the co-stars in that movie? It was Penelope Cruz and maybe Nicole Kidman or whoever. And I said, "Damn, must be nice being you. You have two of those girls in bed with you." And he just started giggling, and he couldn't stop. And I'm like, "Well, that's my interview with Tom Cruise." and one other celebrity one, Johnny Depp. So at the peak of Johnny Deppness,
right?
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah.
I get a text or an email or something, I can't remember what form, from a guy. He's like, "Hey man, I was in Johnny Depp's band when he was growing up in South Florida, and he's coming to town, and he would do your show. Would you be interested?" I'm like, "Yeah, cool." Yes, I'll take the biggest movie star in the world.
Yeah.
He wants to come
Just
and see you.
Yeah.
He doesn't want to talk about being Johnny Depp, the movie star. He wants to just talk about his band. So I'm like, "What? I get the devil on one shoulder. I'll just lie, say it." So also, you have to agree to not tell anyone in your life that he's coming in, not even your wife. And I'm not lying. So we had to tell the security, and my show people. And the morning of, is there a place he can park his car not in front of the radio? I'm like, yeah, we had him drive in the back of the garage, and he came in. I didn't even tell my wife. Mid-show, I text her a picture of Johnny Depp sitting next to me. We didn't talk for a month. But he came in, and I did not say one thing about movies, about Johnny Depp, we talked about his band. And when the microphones went off, he puts his arm around me and says, "Thanks for doing that." He goes, "Why don't I come on your show next time and we'll talk about the movies?" And he did.
Oh, wow.
We honored it, and he came back on, and he was totally cool.
That is great.
So that was one of my favorite. I mean, I love that story. There's a million, but that's a great one.
Did you wear a sports jacket for him?
I did not.
See, okay. I just wanted.
I wore a Gator shirt.
Okay. That's even better.
After we won the national championship against Oklahoma at the Orange Bowl,
I was there.
I was there too. I had to work the next morning, and I don't think I left the stadium parking lot until 2 a.m. My show starts at 6 a.m.
Oh, you're the guy I tail-ended on the way out. Yeah.
You threw up on me.
Yeah.
We had an RV
Only
rented,
a little.
and the radio station was right next door to the stadium. And so afterwards, I slept on the floor of my office for like 2 hours, still in my Gator attire, smelling like beer and leftover stone crabs. And I forgot that morning that Kevin James was coming in studio. And I'd known Kevin for a long time. And he walks in and gets in front of me and he looks at me and he goes, "What happened?" He just like, "What happened to you?" Like I must have looked like hell. Yeah. And I go, "Truth be told, the Gators just won the national championship 3.5 hours ago, and I was there." He goes, "I love it," and he high-fived.
You don't realize how hard as Gators we have to work to help them win those championships.
That's right.
Big football guy that you are.
Football what?
Yeah, that's precisely. This is a political guru, and one of the things, there was an interesting article about you. Well, one of many, of course. Every article about Paul.
So
of course,
riveting.
It's riveting. You said you didn't go. You in all your years, politics you stayed away from back then. And
yeah.
Yeah.
Because I learned my lesson a few times over the years, and I mean, listen. When Bill Clinton had his troubles in office, we had a lot of laughs with it. In fact, we had a life-size statue of Monica Lewinsky with a hole cut out in her mouth, and we had people throwing cigars through it for a prize. So that was a way to dabble in politics. Well, we just got fired. And we did that. And then I remember when Donald Rumsfeld was Secretary of Defense. He used to say funny things. Yeah. And we used to do, time now for the Donald Rumsfeld moment. and President Bush was also fun, and he would do there's an old saying in Tennessee, Texas, won't get fooled again. Whenever there's something funny. But then things got awkward. Yeah. And it wasn't funny anymore. You couldn't, I don't know when it happened, but, and people got very jaded with it and upset. But I remember after the shooting in Parkland, and I went on the air and said something about assault rifles. And because my kid was in school at the time, and I was fit to be tied. Yeah. I'm sick of seeing kids. And I remember people coming after me and audience attacking me, saying, "How dare you? Now we know who you are." I'm like, man, I just don't want dead kids out there. I wasn't trying to be political. So then I just, I talked to one of my bosses. He's like, "Dude, just stay away." Yeah. And he was right. I mean, I can't afford to take the ratings hit. Michael Jordan, you never hear him. You know what he said? They asked him why he doesn't get into politics. He goes, "Because Republicans buy sneakers too."
They like my Air Jordans.
Yeah, so that's why I stay away.
How have you changed? I thought that you and I read that great profile, and I think you said that the sensitivity that I think comes a couple of years, the kind of humor you might have gone for,
We were
maybe a little different.
Yeah, I would say the '90s. You know, it was like the shock jock era. Coming out of that shock jock era, I did a lot of it. You know, we were also competing against Howard Stern in radio, so he was doing his thing, and then when he left, I took his job. They moved me from the station 94.9 Zeta that was on, but we were Paul and Young Ron. We were raunchy, and we were encouraged to be to be there.
I remember the days.
And then you know when it changed though, with Janet Jackson, Nipplegate, and the FCC came down and began fining everybody for all this stuff, and we were like, well, we can't be. Our company said you guys can't afford to get fined because we're going to be firing people, so we took all the sex off the show, really, the dirty stuff, and we just kind of dabbled in double entendre.
Mm-hmm.
And I figured it out. You can still be funny. You don't have to go that route. And also being married.
Yeah.
Being married, the wife would be like, no, why are you talking about that? No, we're not talking about that. And certainly not anything we do. And I'm not one of your little radio people. I'm your wife.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've learned a lot. I've grown. I've not gotten divorced. Many of our friends have. I'm going on 30 years, buddy.
So who's the guest that you always wanted but haven't been able to get?
Oh, there's so many.
Name a couple.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for throwing me out. You know, I wanted Pacino, and we thought we were going to get De Niro recently, but you know what? De Niro, I can't. He's a terrible interview. You know, he really is.
Yeah. The 2-word answer.
Yeah, he's like, no, I don't think so. No, I'm not going to do it. I don't want to talk about Pacino. You know, I love it. He's great. You know, he's got, all that stuff. I want to talk to him. I really thought Pacino would be great, but you know, it's hard to get the A-list guys now.
Yeah.
You know, they all have podcasts now, so they just do their friends' podcast. You know,
I think we're the 10 millionth podcast that.
But
we're carving out our territory.
There was a time that everybody coming through Miami, we had, you know. And you know, one of the most nervous.
Tougher to get the gets now.
Yes.
Yeah.
One of the most nervous I ever was though, Steve Spurrier.
Yeah. Oh.
In studio.
Yeah.
Don Shula. First time I interviewed him, I thought I was going to die.
Really?
Yeah. I did. I interviewed Trump.
Oh, Shula could be tough.
Here's the thing. I interviewed Sean Connery. I mean, I can't think of many people that I didn't get a chance to talk to over the years. I used to do a contest called Who Do You Know Famous?
Yeah.
And I gave away a $10,000 prize for the person to get the most famous person to call the show. So on the morning of the finale, Matt Damon calls. And I go, we got Matt friggin' Damon. He was living in Miami, dating or getting ready to marry the waitress who ended up becoming his wife. And so he goes on Letterman and tells the story. I called this local radio show. They were going to give $10,000 and half of it was going to a charity, whatever. He goes, and Letterman loved it. He goes, I listened. Matt Damon says, they had Lonnie Anderson. They had the local weather guy. He goes, I figured I had this as a shoe-in. And then he tells the story that right after he called, Sean Connery called. And Sean Connery is like, I'm in the Bahamas right now. Oh. And I'm like, where in the Bahamas? He goes, why do you want to know where I am? I'm like, I don't need the address. I'm inquisitive. Well, someone already asked me that. Why don't we move on? And he was calling on behalf of a friend, and she won it was a $10,000 stay at the Bridge Suite at Atlantis in the Bahamas, which you can't. It's the Oprah room. I mean, Michael Jackson and Oprah, they're like the only people ever. You know the Bridge Suite in Atlantis that bridges the two buildings together? It's like 50,000 square feet with 2 butlers.
We're doing our podcast from there next week.
We should. I don't know why we wouldn't. But Sean Connery won. But that same week, I had Stevie Wonder on the phone playing harmonica from the back of a limo. And he called into the show. Jimmy Buffett. I mean, it was really, and then Trump called in. Trump got pissed that he lost. I should have wanted him the most famous. James Caan said, why do I need to be on a show that I have to tell? I know how famous I am. And
Great to have you. Hey, you do, for all the fun stuff you do, we'd be remiss, you do a lot of serious stuff. You've used your celebrity. You're funny and well-earned celebrity. You do a lot of work.
This is when you make me cry, isn't it?
But it's true, Paul. You do, and it's important.
Charity. Yeah, and the one thing I've done over the years, and listen, my wife's a cancer survivor. I've done a ton for cancer research, but feeding hungry people seemed to be that seems to be the thing that I fell on. Being a chunky guy for many years, I appreciate a good meal. So I want everyone else to eat too.
You're Italian. You don't need to say that. Yeah. We for years I did a food drive where we would sit in front of Bass Pro Shops for days on end and broadcast live
for like 4 days during Thanksgiving, and we would fill up these trucks, and people would make donuts. And then we realized the internet came in to play, and it was a lot easier instead of making someone drive to Publix and go buy a case of food to donate money, because these food banks can buy food in bulk in a much more efficient way. So we partnered with FarmShare, and we do this 50-50 draw every year. And last year we gave FarmShare $103,000 with a 50-50 draw.
Wow.
The other $103,000 went to one listener.
Wow.
And that dude has been in the hospital for almost a year, and he was down on his luck, and he got $100,000.
Wow.
You talk about changing someone's world. That was really cool. And FarmShare, we bought them a new truck with that 100 Gs.
Beautiful
You know,
story.
I did the math though. 100 Gs, that's a nice truck. No,
Yeah,
no,
very
I'm
nice.
talking about a big semi.
All right, so this is the segment of our brand new podcast where we always say, because I used to have this happen To the Point. My guest would always say, there was one more thing. So it's one of the reasons
Like
we call
Peter
it top of mind.
There's one more thing I want to
So
ask
here's
you.
your one more thing moment to think, why didn't Mike and Brian ask that? Here's your top of mind moment. What didn't we touch on that you want to put a bow on before we go to the Crowley closer with a little something special?
Oh, one more thing that you
that
don't
you're
know
like,
about me.
or anything, because my guests would always say, I wish you'd asked that. I said, you had a half hour, you couldn't. So what is the thing we didn't bring up? You're like, man, I wish they'd asked me that.
Yeah, I can't believe you didn't ask me how much money I made over the years. No, I'm kidding.
I know it would support economies across the world.
Let's
I
talk
know.
about travel.
Yeah.
That's the one thing. I have a house in Maine.
Yeah.
And
Where?
Freeport, Maine.
Right.
Why do
Okay.
you want to know that?
Well,
Why would you like to know where I live?
I don't want to know the address. I just want to know. Yeah, it's a big state.
It's the home of LL Bean.
Okay.
And it's my wife's happy place. And
is it your happy place too?
It sort of. I would like my house in Maine to be in the Keys. Again, I'm married for a long time, but over the years I've fallen in love with it. But what happened was we'd always taken our vacations in the Bahamas and the Keys early in our marriage. Everything was boated and was always hot. And one year my wife's like, "Can we go somewhere cool in the summer?" I'm like, "Where?" We looked at the map. She's like, "Martha's Vineyard." All right, so we went there. And the next year we're like, let's do that. That was cool. Let's go somewhere else. Maine. And then it was like Maine. And for every year we kept going back to Maine. And then we went on a sailing trip, one of those day trips around the bay. And we were like, this is so great. We met this couple. We were drinking wine. And I go, what do you do? He goes, I'm a realtor. And I said, oh, really? Well, if you ever see a unique property in Maine, you shoot me an email. What? I think, tell a realtor that.
Sucker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And before you knew it, we were up there. And
and you're sort of happy place.
It's cool. We see the sunset every night. I build a fire and I get to fish. I'm happy.
Yeah.
And I got lobster.
And you just got back from a fishing trip. I saw some of your,
Costa Rica. That's my new happy place.
Okay.
It's funny when you discover a place, you want to go back. Yeah. And I've done the coastal Costa Rica thing many, many years. And as a fisherman, my son's a surfer and a fisherman. The surfing is world class. The fishing is world class. And the wife is happy because the resort's lovely. But we stumbled upon this place. They did the Golden Bachelor and the Bachelorette there and Keeping Up with the Kardashians. It's called, put it down, the Springs Resort and Spa. This is not an ad. It is one of the most, it's total White Lotus hotel in the middle of the jungle with monkeys and sloths all around you. And you're sitting in geothermal, volcano heated pools all around the property that are natural, and people are giving you drinks. Okay, I mean, what more do we need?
Hey, we'll do our next podcast then.
Yeah, shots fired.
Oh.
That's one of my favorite things to talk about is travel. And and I go to Italy every year.
Yeah. Good stuff,
a little pilgrimage, but that's just, but that's it. I mean, I'm going to keep working. I don't want to retire.
Good.
What's the point?
No.
I would drive my wife insane.
That's what my
like
wife
you,
says.
You retired. I saw it on TV. I don't know what you're still working, so I don't know what's going on.
Yeah, well, she's like, I love having you around the home. I'm sort of happy when you're in the house, but not all day.
It's like the Who. 30 years ago, I'm watching. I just saw. I got an email. Hey, the Who's doing their farewell tour. I'm like, call me crazy, but I believe they did one of those in '82.
Paul Castronovo, iHeart Miami, Big 105.9. Shamelessly, we thank you for promoting our little podcast. Don't try and buy us out when we get up to a dozen viewers. We know how this works with you big gunners.
Well, here's the thing. You got to come on my show to talk about this podcast.
Yeah, we appreciate your time. We want to leave with a very happy moment.
Okay.
We call something the Crowley closer, and he's got a special moment today for you.
So I understand that you went to Lake Worth High School.
I did.
Yes. I know somebody who went to Lake Worth High School and is so eager to reconnect with you.
Really? Please tell me it's celebrity chef Thomas Keller.
No, better.
Well, my only clue I'm going to give you before this person comes out
this person is here?
Yes,
Johnny Depp. No.
Majorette. And here she comes.
The one, the
Cheryl
only Cheryl
Kruger.
Crowley.
Oh my God. But there's no way because you didn't age at all.
I want pictures.
Oh my God.
Oh.
This is so. I
And-
said I wasn't going to cry.
I
How did this happen?
Just for the record, we didn't get a hug or a kiss.
I said, oh my God, I knew your voice instantly. I mean,
Oh.
it's like, how did you
And
forget
with
your
that,
voice?
Wow.
Yeah.
and thank you for watching
Reunions
Top
are
of Mind
us.
Florida.
This is so cool.
And
And you look
we'll see
incredible.
you next time.